as entrepreneurs, we all want to make a huge difference. And with that, we've got to have the energy to do that. We want to create great value for our clients. We're running real hard. And lo and behold, sometimes we stop running and life beats us up. I know all of us are a little insecure. We struggle with this, and as entrepreneurs, we can't. We're not supposed to do this. We're supposed to be leaders and inspiring our troops and to really make a difference in the world, and definitely be type A. Well, I've got a remarkable individual, a fellow entrepreneur who's a physician, a professor, and a coach to entrepreneurs. She is an amazing individual. I met at Joe Polish's Genius Network, and just really captivated the group with the presentation she made. And I wanted to share it with you. Really, think of an individual who, first generation to go to college, and then finds herself in a top 10 level emergency room. One of the top level one, of the top 10 hospitals in the country, dealing with, you think you have stress, the stress just coming at you every moment, and then takes the time to teach future doctors, and decided to get ahead of it all and to help fellow entrepreneurs not show up in her emergency room and really be able to have the confidence to make a difference and resilience. So stay tuned. You want to make sure that you're able to be the best you're capable of being.
Ordinary success? No way. You want amazing, remarkable, exceptional breakthroughs. Dig deep, think bold, drive hard, watch yourself soar beyond your dreams. AESNation.com.
So excited to have you here, Jaime Hope. You really, I think you're fairly new to the Genius Network, and so it was the first time that I met you, had the privilege of meeting you, and you captivated the group, and there was a lot of interest there. And so first of all, thank you. I know you've got a really busy schedule.
Thank you for having me here, John. I really appreciate it.
Well, you know what? I mean, you and I had, before we turned on the camera and when we were back in Tempe with Joe's group, we had a chance to talk about all this. But before we go into kind of helping all our fellow entrepreneurs be really more powerful and making a difference, what I'd love to do is get a little bit of the backstory, because Jaime, this is kind of not the normal path of the surgeons that I know, fellow friends that went to medical school along the way. You're kind of taking a different path and really making a difference. So I would love to hear how you did it.
Well, thank you, John. My job is so interesting. I get to see people essentially on the worst day of their life in the emergency department. And I've seen so many patients over the years coming through, everybody is stressed, everybody's going through something. And I noticed this interesting group of people. They were a little different than the other ones. They're not the ones that were looking for a day off. They're the ones that are saying, Doc, you got to fix this. You got to put me back in the game. I'm running the company. I've got to be on a plane. I'm making a deal. I'm giving a keynote. And I noticed this interesting group of people were entrepreneurs. And I was just so fascinated by that. I started getting to know some and learning about it, because at that point I wasn't doing anything entrepreneurial. And, hearing people's stories and how interesting. And I remember thinking, wow, being an entrepreneur is a lot like working in an emergency department, John.
Well, it really is. It's funny. I hadn't thought of it until you said it that way. But, my experience, unfortunately, we've had some family members having some recent health challenges. So I've been spending more time in hospitals, and everybody brings their problems to you. Well, for most CEOs, that's the case too. And, this is something we all have to work through, and it makes a big difference.
Yes.
Jaime, one of the things that I know you've shared with me, and I always think of entrepreneurs as, we get 2x4, sometimes it's 2x6, we get knocked down. And, you're as hard charging a person that I've ever met.
Yeah.
and you got knocked down. I'd love to have you share kind of, that life lesson that you shared with me, to share with our fellow entrepreneurs on, just, stuff happens to us all. And, sometimes it's health, sometimes it's, families, but we have to deal with this. And it's kind of hard as a type A when you're just charging ahead all along the way.
Yeah. So what happened, John? I mean, classic type A overachiever, great grades, getting accepted to school. And so I was working, I was doing really well. I was, going to every committee I could possibly do at work. Had a house, marriage, everything was going great and just trying to do everything at once. And then when I got pregnant, unlike the typical people who get a little bit sick, I got a lot sick. I lost so much weight, and I don't know if you probably can't tell, I'm not very huge. I didn't have a lot of weight to spare. I lost so much weight, I ended up with a special IV going from my arm all the way to my heart, and then a feeding tube going from my nose into my intestines. Now, when you have that going on, you are literally plugged into a wall to keep you alive. So I could be getting my IV fluids and nutrition through these tubes. And so for the first time in my adult life, I had to sit still. I didn't even know what that was like. I was physically attached to the wall, so it forced me. I was on bed rest. I was just extremely exhaustively sick. And I was on doses of anti-nausea medicine that are usually reserved for cancer patients. And so I had to sit and just be. And a huge part of my identity, I realized, was being this hard-charging, hard-working emergency room doctor. And I was stuck on a couch, plugged into a wall. And I didn't know, how do I define myself all of a sudden? Now, I knew at some point, the pregnancy would progress to its natural conclusion, pregnancy would be over, I would go back to getting healthy again. So I was able to use that time to, take the best advantage of it, learn how to be still, learn who I am, what defines me. Is it the outcome or the process? And then I was always a compassionate doctor before that, but to really be in the shoes of being a patient completely changed my practice of medicine. And it helped me understand people so much better, because this was the first time, I couldn't get back in the game, and it was so hard.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't even imagine. I got one time got walking pneumonia, and that knocked me out for 2 weeks. And, and I guess that's as close as I can get, because I couldn't even talk on the phone the first week. I couldn't, this is somebody, I've got 3 businesses. I've got an awful lot of people I'm working with and responsibilities, and great team. Fortunately, they didn't even miss me. I think business was better without me. But, this is hard as entrepreneurs, and, and being still. I mean, it's the very nature of making a difference, or, the dent in the universe, as Steve Jobs said that he wanted to do and did, is, we need energy. And I always think of this as energy management, and, stuff happens that we don't have that. I mean, how did, Jaime, how did you, because one of the things I know you do is you're a great coach for fellow entrepreneurs, and one of the things we both want is for them not to have to get ill, not to have to have this challenge that they're couch-ridden, bed-ridden, and the whole thing. How do you help them take a moment to really think through this? Because when we have those quiet moments, I remember when I had walking pneumonia, I spent a lot of time thinking, what do I really want in life? I want life, first of all. I knew that one, but after that, okay, let's design our lives on purpose, which is such a big deal.
Yeah. So it depends on where I meet them. If I meet them in the emergency department and it's something, doc, I don't have time for a kidney stone, I have this stuff to do, it's a good teachable moment. So one, I'm trying to help them get healthier. I'm their doctor, so I'm trying to get them healthier and get back in the game. But 2, talk about what's going on with them. I recognize that they can't just get a work note and be off for a few days. They're the boss, so they're the ones that need to run it. But what is it that led them to get there in the first place? If it's something from a heart attack, Generally, they're not eating healthy enough. They're not getting exercise, burning the candle at both ends, and just giving them the opportunity to talk. I actually ended up being a coach sort of on accident because people, my years as a physician, people feel very comfortable talking to me. And so what happened is people would just approach me and chat with me and share personal things and ask for advice. And it just kind of evolved naturally from there because, I see them. So whether they're coming to me before they get that sick, kind of on the side as a personal thing, or once I see them in the emergency department, those are the best opportunities because those are the times in your life when you're going to be reflective and realize you need to make changes. And that's going to give people the opportunity.
Yeah, no, there's a great book, and I can't remember the name or the author's name right now. He's one of the top consultants in the world. He's retired, but he has one of the most prolific writers, and the book was The Strategy of the Fat Smoker. Okay, not a great title. And this is a guy who made millions consulting the most successful people, wrote about books on how other consultants, and when it came out, it was David somebody, and I remember picking it, saw it on Amazon and said, I'm going to buy it. I don't know why. I don't really want to, fat smokers. I'm not thinking that's the thing. But it was a personal story, really about what you're talking about. This is a guy who is a type A, making millions and millions of dollars a year at consulting point at the highest level there is. And he, was way overweight, and he was a smoker. And it's not like he didn't know that there's some evidence that he wasn't smart enough to deal with this. But the book goes on, it would be a very short book if that was it. But he had the heart attack, had the time out. And it was kind of like, he would beat up his clients all the time that they weren't moving, they weren't changing, they weren't transforming their practice. He was telling them exactly how they could do it, and they weren't doing it. They weren't leading the life. And then it was kind of like, well, of course, why would they follow my advice if I'm not following it too? So it was a really powerful book. It wasn't very successful because of the title. But I think, so often as entrepreneurs, we make dumb decisions because we're so hard charging.
That's absolutely true. And I'm teaching my patients about, getting healthier, quitting smoking. And I've always done pretty well with diet and exercise. And I was not doing quite as well with sleep because we have odd shift work and it's kind of hard to unwind when you get home from 2 a.m. and you had just cracked open someone's chest and brought them back. It's hard to relax. And then stress relief. So I got to the point where I was so stressed. I was actually becoming, extremely depressed and just almost, rock bottom in terms of that. I was very functional at my job. I was still able to do that. But personally, I was so stressed, I just wasn't functioning very well. And, the same thing, being a fat doctor giving someone advice about being thin seems ridiculous. And so I know that my job is extremely high stress, extremely high stakes. And I was teaching other people how to help grow their resilience and their confidence. I was teaching med students and residents. And it kind of smacked me across the face one day that it's time to start practicing what I preach as well. So when I really started developing my own resilience muscles, that's when my life just changed for the better substantially. And then the most interesting things started happening. I went to Vern Harnish's Scale Up Summit. I met my now dear friend Joe Polish, who has introduced me to a lot of people, and things that just keep getting better and better.
Yeah, no, it's really, one of the things is when we let that opportunity to make things happen. It's amazing. Vern's a great guy, and I've had him out speaking at my mastermind group. And
I adore Vern.
Yeah, and he's a hard-charging global player too. I don't, some of the times I think, I'm a big believer in this concept of designing your life on purpose. That success means different things to different people. And I have at one time I was doing investment banking. I had the private jet, and we were doing due diligence on 120 firms. We bought 28 firms in a year, and I hated my life. I was making plenty of money and all
Yep.
this, and I can still remember my coach at the time was my wife, and she goes, "Tell me again why we're doing all this. We don't need the money. You hate your
Yep.
life and all this." And taking that step back is hard to do, and particularly, we all think it's when you get hit by a 2x4 because things aren't working, but a lot of times you're getting hit by the 2x4 because they are working, and there's so much opportunity out there. How do you, help, as you're working with entrepreneurs, Jaime, kind of take a step back because, we just completed a study of 700 entrepreneurs making over 5 million a year. 17% are interested in what we're talking about here. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a pretty large percentage that aren't, and maybe they have their act all together. You and I know that's not
Sure.
the case.
Yeah.
But it's not a priority right now. But how do we inspire people to take that, be more thoughtful about designing their life so that they really can accomplish all that they want to and, live that great life?
One of the best ways that I have found to word it to people, especially if they are successful, they feel like they're successful because of the beating that they're taking. It's almost like we wear it like a badge of honor. Oh, I didn't get any sleep. I'm getting hit by 2x4s left and right. It means I'm even stronger. And so when you finally explain to somebody, you can only be killing it in business for so long if you're killing yourself, it gives them a moment to stop and pause, because you truly can't sustain that forever. And just because you have been able to so far doesn't mean you're going to continue to be able to. I know this very well. I see people at the end stage of that stress level when they land in the emergency department. So this is not just my theory, it's that this happens all the time. So just continually reminding people, if you're taking care of yourself along the way, then you can continue to be killing it. Vern Harnish is a great example. He takes siesta sometimes, which I think comes from his years of living abroad and in Barcelona. Takes siesta when he needs it. He does the Tabata exercises very regularly. He eats well. So he is one of the people that has incorporated his healthy lifestyle into his business, and it really helps him continue to keep going as far as he needs to reach the levels of success that he wants to. So Vern's a great example.
Yeah, and really, in the group we're in, Joe Polish, one of the things that has been a benefit for me too is being in that group because it's so, health oriented. There's a lot of individuals with medical health backgrounds, but there's enough hard charging entrepreneurs like myself that. I had somebody one time tell me that, John, you're going to do a really good job building a great estate for your wife's next husband. And it's
brutal.
and I love my wife, 38 years, but, I'm going, that's not what I'm really my big goal in life type thing. And I can still remember when I was younger, I didn't exercise. I didn't, And I was a pilot in the Navy. I was in great shape then, and then just stopped as an entrepreneur, and had a lot of success. And one of the guys, probably about my age now, 62, came to me and said, "John, why aren't you running? I used to love running and skiing and all this, and I do now. But I don't have time." He goes, "John, you can kind of make time. We all have the finite resource of time and doing this." And so Jaime, how when you're kind of working with entrepreneurs and they're doing it, and Vern's a great example because I do a little bit. I'm one of those guys that if I could take a pill and it would make me be in perfect shape, I'd be the first one to do it. I don't even care what the price is. I'd buy it.
You can afford the pill. So.
Yeah, I would buy the pill. But, they don't have it. So I have trainers show up at my house. I have masseuse. I have everything scheduled because, quite honestly, I wouldn't do it. I love skiing. Yeah. I love, a number of other, physical things. And I find out if I don't stay in shape, I can't do them. So that's my big motivation. But how do you help people through this process, entrepreneurs?
Well, the concept of if you feel like you don't have time to be healthy and take care of yourself now, eventually you're going to take that time in terms of an illness. So it's personal and specific to each individual. some people are very good at the self-care. Like I said, I was doing great at exercise and diet, but I was doing terrible at sleep and stress relief. So speaking to the individual and finding out where they are. Now, the people I work with, like you, finances is not the barrier. You can afford the personal trainer, you can afford the yoga instructor, the chef, whatever it is that you need. It's a matter of getting those things and incorporating it into your life and finding out what the barriers are. But most people, when they're coming to me, although I do have a lot of expertise on wellness and nutrition and diet, they're really coming to me for the stress component and the resilience part. So, and then when I'm talking to somebody.
Well, let's talk about that, because I think there have been times in my life that it's been pretty stressful, and and I can remember, and I'm a financial guy, so major downturns are never good. I can still remember, in the, really the 2008, let's go 2008, 2009, major financial downturn. The average, the markets were down 45% or so. Actually over 50% for depending on which markets you're talking about. But, so many businesses went under during that period. It was a global challenge. How as that was going on, it was very easy to be, and in my businesses too, all of a sudden my clients, the big financial institutions stopped calling. They were going, they were having their own challenges type thing. And I can still remember going the Friday before Lehman Brothers went under. I was one of their consultants. I showed up in a black suit. I do have suits still, and even though I'm in Silicon Valley, I showed up with the tie and all that. And I couldn't get through the reporters. All the reporters thought because I had a black suit on, I must be a senior executive. And I call up and they say, no need to come up, and they went bankrupt on Monday. But the stress of that stuff is just, you're being asked to really make a big difference, no matter what your roles are there. And, it's easy to just be overwhelmed. How do you help somebody, like I was? I don't think because I could hop on a plane and fly back, but the guys in the building were overwhelmed for sure.
Yeah. And the key is you can't take on everything at once. It's just like with weight loss. If somebody has 100 pounds to lose, you can't lose 100 pounds in one day. So if somebody is in a place of complete overwhelm and stress, you start with one thing at a time. And I have my resilience RX strategies that I go through, and some of them apply more to certain people than others. But there are some that kind of seem to resonate a little bit more globally with entrepreneurs in general, from everybody that I talk about. And one of the biggest ones that, we're definitely hitting on here is that self-care is not selfish. You need to take care of yourself in order to take care of the rest of the world. So that's one of the biggest ones. So I assess somebody and see what they're doing in terms of their self-care. If that's not their issue, if it's businesses and a lot of other things, just finding out where their resilience level is at. People seem to think it's some magic genetic thing that you're born with a certain amount, like this is your cup full, this is all you get for the rest of your life. And teaching people that resilience is a muscle, and then going through various strategies and what resonates with the individual and meet them where they're at in order to get them to that higher level of resilience. Because John, you and I both know the stressors in life are going to continue to come. We're not able to stop that. That's not what we're doing here. But if you can help somebody grow their resilience muscle strong enough, then when that next thing comes along, they'll be ready and it won't knock them down. That's the important thing about what I'm doing.
Yeah, this is so important. I want to touch on both of them a little bit more. And let's go to self-care. One of the, worked with some of the neuroscientists, and there's a fellow that I really love his work, where he's convinced me, and it's very much what you've been talking about, Jamie. It's one of the mistakes I think entrepreneurs make, and I know I made this for most of my career, is I wouldn't schedule time for myself. I'm out there. I've got multiple businesses. I've got to make sure everything happens, and what I do is I make sure I'm going to take 6 weeks of vacation. It's scheduled. The only way I'll take it is if it's scheduled.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead, and every day I have 2.5 hours that are blocked for myself in the
Nice.
sense of 10:30 to noon. It's kind of a very high productivity, and I get to choose what I want. And then at 4, because I'm an early starter, 4 to 5, I'm usually fairly tired. I just schedule it, and it could be anything from going out and playing golf, going for a swim, could be working on something that is kind of new creativeness too, because I find when I'm really tired, I'm actually more creative. I'm not going to be able to get the detail. But I think, and it's the same as I was talking about with, having everything scheduled. I went to the dentist today and did the preventive, the cleaning and all that stuff. I have the concierge medical groups that monitor my health. And the reason is I probably wouldn't do it if I didn't have it in my calendar.
Yes. Yeah, our mutual good friend Joe Polish is really good at that. He's such a great example. He'll schedule stuff in his calendar. He'll schedule free days. He'll have yoga classes. He'll go to meetings if he needs to. He's very open in talking about his addiction and recovery and how that's benefited him. So, and also our other good mutual friend, Jason Fladlin from the Genius Network, he's in the 100K group. He's the webinar expert.
Well, and I even see Jason's book behind you, too,
Yeah.
to the side there. Yes.
Do you like that product placement?
Yes.
Jason's one of my besties, so I put that there for him.
Okay.
But he's great. He schedules a yoga instructor to come on certain days, so he'll to his house. So he'll be working creatively. The timer will go off. He'll walk out. The yoga mat will be ready. Do the yoga. Thank the instructor. Then she will clean up. He goes back to his office and works. He schedules hikes. He's very good about doing it in the schedule. So when people see that these extremely successful people, these are both, multimillionaire, high level, very well known and well respected entrepreneurs, are incorporating these aspects of self-care in there, you can see that it is possible to still be successuful. They're successful because of these things.
I think that's the right word is
fight up.
Yeah, because and I think the selfish word is the right word, is that, when we schedule free time or the trainer to come in, the masseuse, the yoga instructor, it can feel like you're not being fully productive, and quite honestly, you are much more. You're able to face the world, have the energy to do that. Let's just touch on, Jaime, a little bit on the, I got that, you showed me that resilience muscle.
Yeah, so the muscle. Yeah,
how do we build that up? How do I, because I know, and that stuff is going to happen. I would use a normal word, but, stuff is going to happen. You're in an emergency room. I'm coaching top financial advisors, so it's a little different. I don't open up anybody's chest, but, there's some major challenges along the way.
Yes. But it is a muscle, and it's something that if you do your resilience strategies, it will continue to grow, and you'll be ready to face those challenges that we know are coming. So there's a lot of different things that I do. Just, very briefly, I do perspective exercises with people. I teach people how to soundtrack their life. In a movie, if there's two people standing next to each other and there's romantic music playing, what's about to happen. Or if there's other music playing, what's about to happen. Yeah. But then if there's kind of scary, murdery music in the background, that completely changes.
When we hear the Jaws background music, we know what's happening.
And so we know that movies take music to give us the emotion of how we're supposed to feel in the moment. So why not use that to our advantage? So I've got a whole bunch of different playlists on my iPod, whether I need to feel inspired and energetic, or do I need to, after a shift, calm down and stuff like that. So there's a whole bunch of strategies that people can have in their back pocket. They don't take necessarily a ton of time to do each one, but every time you take to grow that resilience muscle, you're going to be stronger and stronger. Entrepreneurs, just like my job, it's a very high stakes, very high stress. You're lifting a lot of things. You've got a lot on your plate. So if you don't grow those muscles, how are you supposed to be able to lift all the things that you're doing?
Yeah, and it's interesting. One of the podcasts on AESNation.com, a fellow that we worked with, I'm just going to look at the number, Jason Campbell, who I met at the same time. Jason I invited on,
great guy.
And it's episode 205, and and it's on meditation. Well, why would I be having, Jamie and Jason, normally I'm hard charging. What I'm finding is I need to build up my energy. And, Jason, I was thinking of him because of the music. He writes his own music to make meditation easier. And, I'm from a small town upstate New York. I've lived in California my professional career. But I'm not a soft and fuzzy guy. And it's, a lot of this I kind of ho-hummed. And what I've found is, as you do this, the impact it makes. And one of the things, we do a lot of research on the super rich, people 500 million or more of net worth. And the number of billionaires doing meditation, for instance, doing all the things, Jamie, that you and I are talking about, it's huge. And why are they doing that? Well, one of the reasons they're a billionaire is they're being effective in all parts of their life, and they're bringing in the top people in each of those areas to help support them. And it's really one of the things I want to encourage everybody to do is to take the time to work with someone to help you, because a lot of this is hard to do on your own. I mean, I've found left to my own devices, I would not do this stuff type thing.
Right. And it's easy for people to just blow it off and say, this is fluff. I'm not doing anything during this time. But sometimes if you just give your brain a break for a few minutes, because I used to be, anytime I had free time, I was listening to podcasts, I was listening to audiobooks, I was doing something. It was just a constant stream of input, going from one of the top 10 busiest ERs in the country, which, as you imagine, has a lot of input all day long.
Right.
Then constant podcasts, audiobooks, and learning, which is great because I felt like the only way to be successful was to be doing something every second. And then when I finally just turned it off and had a little bit of downtime, when I would find time to meditate and time to be still for just a few minutes, that's when my best ideas came. The best inspiration, the best creativity. Giving your mind a little time to take all the stuff in that you're doing and be still, you're actually going to find that's where some of the best stuff comes from. So it is productive time to have a little bit of downtime. Otherwise, all of those billionaires wouldn't be doing this.
Well, and I think the one thing, one that we all do, taking a shower, for instance,
Yes.
So many people have come up with their best ideas in the shower because it's one of the few times you're isolated and you don't have a lot of things going on around you. And, why don't we be successful on purpose and create those environments, whether it's, meditation, hiking, we can go through all the different things. I like golf. I didn't play golf until about 5 years ago at a top 50 golf course at the bottom of my hill. And I've been a member of since they built the thing, but I never, I'd go to the social functions, that type of thing on occasion. And what I love is I can get out of, one of the challenges for entrepreneurs is getting out of the, whether it's the emergency room or just the business, you're always thinking, it doesn't have to be overly stressful. It can be meditation, it can be golf, it can be skiing, it can be, love racing cars too, but you got to pay attention to where you're going. But, scheduling this stuff, Jamie, is just so powerful. And, I really appreciate all your insights. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, Jamie, and, interested, I know you have such a limited, capacity and for clients, but how would they reach out to you?
So the primary way people contact me is through my website, which is drhopehealth.com, and I'll give you that in the links. You can reach out there and contact me for individual coaching. And, as John knows, I'm kind of at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. I've been working as a physician for a long time, and I've been doing professional speaking on things like resilience and confidence. And then the coaching thing came because people wanted more. So I wanted to make sure that I had a way for people to access me if they need those resources. And there will be writing on there. And at some point I will do some group coaching too, if there's people who want to do it, in more of a group setting if they don't have time on an individual basis. So I'm growing too.
Yeah, no, well, this is what I think. I really, I appreciate, Jamie. This is fantastic. Let me do kind of key takeaways on this. And, the thought process, this is the kind of stuff, it's so easy for us as entrepreneurs going, no, I'm going to go out and make some more money. I'm going to build some more widgets or, have more engagements or do this or do that. And, this is downtime. And I got to tell you, maybe I'm at 62, and I'm a little bit when I was in my 20s and 30s. Never remember having any of these conversations, and it really did hit me. I guess the fat smoker strategy when I had walking pneumonia, and I believe I really got it because I was traveling like crazy. I was giving speeches all over the world. We were doing a few deals along the way, and it just knocked me down terribly. And I had already designed my life how I thought I wanted it. I became clearer there. And don't wait for the heart attack, the walking pneumonia, whatever it is. Deal with this now. Be successful on purpose. Make sure you have the confidence, the systems in place. You've worked, as Jaime said, the resilience muscles, and so we know we're going to get hit by a 2x4. Sometimes it's going to be wood, sometimes it's going to be steel, and you just want to be able to go through, because we are all so privileged that we get to have a really good life as an entrepreneur. If you're having success, with the breakthroughs, Jaime, in healthcare that are going on, and longevity, we have the opportunity to live an awful long time and make a huge difference if we take care of ourselves.
Yes. Just to say, you can't be killing it in business for so long if you're killing yourself to do it.
Well said. And, go to aesnation.com. And we'll have all the links to Jaime's site, the transcripts, the show notes. This is so important. I always end with your clients, your future clients, your strategic partners are counting on you. I got to tell you, your family and friends are counting on you for this one too. Don't let them down. Go out and make a huge difference. We wish you the best of success.
Good.
Exceptional, remarkable breakthroughs. aesnation.com